I started working on this firewall here. I had a piece of 14 gauge. It's pretty thick. It's the same thickness as a firewall, and I cut me a piece out, clamped it in, and I sort of tacked it in. Sure tell where I was using the helmet and where I wasn't, but it was warping just a little. So what I decided to do was take a piece of that old bed frame there. I cleaned it up real good, got all the rust off of it, and primed it, because once I start welding it ain't coming out. So it looks pretty decent. I didn't paint the inside of that firewall either, but anyway, I can tack this here on top now to that plate, and that should keep this real strong and straight, and I can weld it into that 1/2 inch piece coming down there. And because it's angle iron, it'll be super strong. I've got some edge on it there that I can weld my brake booster on, or more bracing, or anyway, it's good to have that edge in there. Can use it for a lot of stuff. Got enough room to bore holes in it. So that'll be the next thing, is to tack this in. And once that's tacked in, I can go back up in here and finish welding this plate. I'm not gonna weld this for now on the outside. I'm just going to weld it on the inside. Camera wasn't focusing. I'm just going to weld it on the inside because I want to butt that bottom piece up against this, and hopefully I can get a real straight edge there that I can grind down, and have a completely flat firewall. Otherwise I'd have to cut a little hole out wherever I welded it. So I think this is good enough. I'll go ahead and try to tack it up and see what results I get. Yeah, there's Mr. Firewall. I guess I should have showed you something, but I basically just welded it in and ground it off. I still got a little bit of cleanup to do right in here, a couple little places I missed, but it looks real straight, and it's super strong. You know, this is a really heavy angle iron in there. But there's a firewall in, part of it anyway. I was thinking, you know, I've got this little edge down in here, and I've got enough room to drill holes. I may make this bottom firewall where you can unbolt it. I got a little weld clean up right here where the seam was. Yeah, I need a little more grinding. Looks like I missed a couple little places, but not bad actually. From 2 feet looks great, but it's real straight, and that was the idea, to get that all flat straight across there. It's got a little bit of dents in it still, but a lot straighter than any of the rest of it. So there's that, and this is going to be probably plenty strong to put my brake in. Without pedals, it's going to be kind of a little bit hard to figure out where am I going to put the pedal. I've got a couple pedal assemblies out there. Well, it's actually for a brake and a clutch, but they're floor mount. They're big old long curved things. I don't know, I may take one of them off, and I can always cut some of the arm out. Anyway, Mr. Firewall's in. Yeah, I really can't see too much from in here. I need to clean that up. Squirt some primer on it too. But it's welded in. Press on, see what I can do about a plate now for the brake. I was trying to decide what kind of a brake I was gonna make. I have this one piece here. It's really not big enough though. I was thinking about putting it in and using it to make my hinge bolt. It's not big enough, but I did have this 3/8 piece of plate that I have, and it's got 2 holes in it. One of my problems, I have a lot of trouble boring holes and stuff. My drill press is really not very good. Anyway, I decided what I was going to do, because this will hold some bolts I've got. I got a whole bunch of them. Of course, this one's way too long, but I can cut it off and make my hinge pin out of it. And if I cut this right here, cut these 2 holes out, and then split them in half, you know, this is giving me about an inch and a quarter high, and that's about what this where I've got this piece of pipe, and I've got this 3/4 inch bolt, and I've got a piece of pipe that'll fit it. So what I'm going to do is cut these 2 off, weld them on here. I'll cut this down and make me a hinge there. I can probably use at least one of these bolt holes. If I can use one, then that'll save me boring that one. And then cut this plate out here, and I'll have to bore one big hole in here. I think I can do that with a plasma cutter. Put the brake cylinder through, and then I'll weld an arm onto this like this, and that'll be my brake pedal. I have one clubus over there. I'll have to adjust it. But I did some calculation. Making a brake from scratch, you can just guess, okay, well, this is about blah blah, and it's about this and it's about that, and then you get it all together, and you don't have the brake pedal ratio right. So what I determined here, I did some calculations and some few online calculators and stuff, and the ideal ratio is about 6 or 7 to 1 as far as your pedal to push rod length. So if I use a 12-inch pedal, that'll hang down good where I can get to it. And if I put this from the pedal to where the master cylinder's going at 2 inches, and I got 12 inches, that gives me 6 to 1. So what I determined is that I need to have that 1 3/4. So from the center of this pivot here to where I drill this, where my push rod's going to set, is 1 3/4 inches. So push rod will go right there, and that gives me 7 to 1, and I can use either a 10 or a 12-inch pedal. And I calculated on a 3/4 inch master cylinder how much braking force it'll generate. I want to get it where it'll stop for sure. But anyway, that's what I'm going to have to do here, is cut this thing off of here so I can get my 2 risers here for this bolt. And I think I'll be able to use this one. It's got some threads. This is I think I'll be able to use this bolt, and the shoulder will work for most of this. This is only going to be about 3/4 of an inch, half an inch, and I'm going to make the brake pedal out of some piece of stock that was holding the rear end in. It's about this thick, and I'll weld that to the pipe, get that straight, and I'll bore the holes for this. And I found out how big bolt centers are for the brake booster, the 3 3/8. So I'll make a 3 3/8 pattern, and that's what will bolt this whole thing to the firewall. And when I get ready to put a power brake booster on it, I'll have the right holes. So that's the first thing, is going to have to cut these pieces up and do a little measuring, and then get my plasma cutter out and see if I can whack this big hole in here and just press on. But this is going to be a Charlie new brake, so stick around and see what happens. Here's the next problem. I've got this kind of mocked up here with a big long bar that I can cut off. I've got my brake pedal here. This will be it. I've got it parallel to the floor. This clevis rod will go into there. That's about 2 inches. That's where the brake cylinder is going to mount. The problem is that up there on the firewall, I put an angle iron in there against the firewall, This is what I put in there right here, and this basically is sitting right here. So either I have to cut a hole in the brake for that, or cut a hole in this for the brake lever. So that's where it's got to be, in the fully depressed position right there. If that's mounted on the inside of the firewall, which it will be, then that's the end of my brake travel. I've got like a 1/4 inch, so that should be bottomed out. That means that I gotta move this area right here about 3/4 of an inch. So let me see if I can mock up something that's 3/4 of an inch. All right. I know from my calculations about the ratio that this arm at 12 inches has got to move about 4 inches, 4.5 inches. So I put 4.5 inch spacer in here. This basically is where this thing's going to have to go. That's pretty close. That's where it'll be whenever it's all the way up, and of course it'll be down to right here somewhere when it's fully depressed. So that means that the way I got this marked up now, this at 12 inches, I know it's 12 inches right here at this mark. So this looks like it's about 6 inches, 7 inches. That's 7 inches off of the firewall. And I'll go set in here and see where that would be. Of course, I can bend this around and make a different brake pedal, but just for mock-up purposes, I'm just going to go with this for now. Well, it's kind of dark in here. This board is where the firewall goes. 7 inches is right there where that shadow's hitting. I've kind of got my seat box where the gas and everything will be. So 7 inches would be way back here. You can see I have to lift my foot pretty high to get it all the way to 7 inches. That's 7 inches from the firewall. Of course, I can probably take a couple inches out of that with where I mount the pedal to around 5. That'll be in this area. 5 wouldn't be bad. I'd have to lift my foot an inch or so to get to it. A couple inches at the most. I like to have my gas and brake real close to each other, so I'm not having to do some big motion to step on the brakes. So the way I got it mocked up right now, trying to clear this bracket in here. I'm going to have a real high brake pedal. So I think probably I'll notch this. I don't know how much I got there. I might have measured it wrong. Let's see here. Oh, that's only 1 inch. Okay, so I set it for 1.5 inches on that bar. So it's 1 inch. That means that I only need to raise that brake pedal up 1 inch for the closed position. And 1 inch, the center of that bolt's about 1 3/4. And this angle iron actually would be here. So it looks like if I just weld it right there, I'll clear the firewall when this thing is fully depressed. And the pedal will end right about where that welding starts. I think we're good to go here. Now 4 inches of brake travel or pedal travel is to take that master cylinder from all the way out to all the way in. That's never going to happen. When you have it full of fluid and stuff, you know, this might move 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, not 4 inches. If it's moving 4 inches, then you're out of brake fluid or something's wrong. So I think this will be okay. As it is now, it's going to be off of the firewall about 7.5 inches for the brake. So I think I'm good to go here. I decided not to bore all of this plate here for the all the 4 bolts for a brake booster. I can use these existing bolt holes here to bolt it down to the firewall. And of course I'll have 2 more when I put the hole in here. And then if I decide to put a brake booster on, then I'll go to the trouble of boring more holes. When I weld it up, I'll weld it so I can leave myself some room to do that. But I think this is a workable setup I got right here, right now. It's going to give me a 1/2 inch bar for a brake, 1/2 inch plate for a mount, and it'll be plenty strong. And of course I'll have to figure out some way to put the brake light switch. I think that proportioning valve's got a hydraulic switch in it. So I think this is good enough. Now I need to do some more measuring, clean it up, get all this rust off of here. Tack it together. I need to mark my big hole first. See if that plasma cutter will even cut this plate. Alright, I got this done. My plasma cutter did kind of work, and then I was able to take a high-speed bit there and finish it up, and use some center punch things here. Got the holes marked and drilled. So there's the bracket. It's not quite perfectly straight, but it's close enough. As long as it's good on the inside, on the outside where you see it. Now I can go ahead and weld my brake pedal and hinge and all that stuff, and tack it on there, and drill my holes, cut it to rough length, and that'll give me my plate. So then I can fool around with a plate and see where it's going to go. I've got the firewall marked there roughly where it's going to go, but it looks like with this flat plate there, I got to go at least 2 inches below any kind of a flat spot. So I'm about 1 inch below where I welded that there, so probably another inch down. Again, like I say, this is all going to depend on where it goes. Is going to depend on my my brake pedal arm. So I guess I'll get the hinge mocked up, tacked on here, and press on. Well, I use a little machinist block here to make sure that these plates were square to the plate, and of course they'd be parallel to each other. And I put the bolt in it, and my little brake pedal here, and it's all square, and I tacked it. I tacked that one, and of course I can't tack very good inside there. I did weld this the first one in pretty good, but that's it for now. I can take my block out of there and my clamps and finish welding this up. Well, there's Mr. Brake. I left a little room in it there. Part of that's the bolt, part of it's I left room. But if it's not exactly in the center, then I can move it around. But the range of travel is perfectly good. I need to have it up about 6 inches, something like that, and then I'll put the clevis and make sure it's exactly in the middle, because I want the straightest shot when I first start pushing on it, and whatever angles left over at the end, we'll just hope that that isn't going to interfere with anything. But and also when I put a big nut on this and tighten it up, that will squeeze that down a little. If it needs adjusted, I just have to grind a little off of one side and put a washer in the other. But it's definitely strong. It's all made out of 3/8 plate, so probably could do a little cutting and fooling around. And this is a 1/2 inch bar here. That's way overkill. I could probably made it all out of quarter, except I didn't have any quarter. But took a little while to do, but it's very workable. It definitely has a we made it at home rat rod look to it. By the way, this is how I buy bolts. These are 1/2 inch washers, 15 of them. About 3-inch bolts, 1-inch washers. A bunch of these, the bolts go up to 3/8 by about 3 inches. A bunch of little ones, a bunch of nuts. More and more, all the way down into this little 1/8 inch stuff. Here's 50 washers. So this is a pretty good pile of bolts, and it's heavy. It weighed about 20 pounds. And here's the invoice from Warren Fastenings, South Carolina. Got here fast too, like in 2 days. And they give you a nice fancy invoice here. What am I looking at here? Does it say? I thought I saw it a minute ago. So we're trying to find it. Order total $49.41. So that's $50 worth of bolts. It's a grade 5. Yeah, they're plenty good for most everything. And I gotta, of course, I'll use up all the big ones right away, and I have millions of little ones left. But that's how I buy bolts. My little boxes over here where I buy them like this too, but I already picked through those and I'm running out, and it's just so frustrating trying to live around in this mess, you know, for one nut. And so this is the way to go, guys. If you want to get a bunch of bolts, you got a project, bite the bullet, spend $50, get a whole bunch of them. You still have to buy more anyway, but you can you know, run back and forth to the hardware store, $1-2 at a time, and drive yourself crazy. So just buy a bunch of bolts. I got another bunch coming too. Anyway, that's why I buy bolts for this thing. I don't think I'll have to buy any more except for like specialty long ones. Well, here's Mr. Godzilla done. It's got a 1-inch hinge in there. I did machine off about 40-50 thousandths there to get a little bit more in the center. I just kind of eyeballed it, and I was off, well, thickness of that washer. So that's all good. It's got very little play in it. Bolts are loose, but it's moving about 3/8 of an inch down here. Of course, once they're tightened up, that'll be a little better. and I've got the angle here kind of up a little, and I've got it when it's all the way compressed there, it's at a pretty radical angle, but that's bottomed out and it's really not contacting that I can see. Anyway, I'll do that later. Let's see if I can measure this. Ugh. I don't know if I'm showing you anything except my leg. So I'm just going to measure that. It's 1 3/4 inches right here at the bottom. 1 3/4. So I got a 1-inch bracket that has got to clear. That's going to give me plenty of room there. I can't really tell if this thing is hitting here. It might be a little. But that won't occur until it's completely bottomed out. So here in the first inch of the travel, that bars or the push rod's pretty much perpendicular, and the distance from the firewall to I've got about 8 inches, guess roughly, from the firewall. If this comes down 1 1/4 inches, I got about 6 inches travel. So I got a good 6-inch pedal on it, and it looks like I kind of messed up my lever angle. The radius of the where the push rod is, looks like that's about 2.5, and this one is 10. So 2.5 into 10. My ratio there is almost 5, and they recommend 5 to 7. I was trying to get closer to 7, but what was killing me there was my angle. And what fixed that was these big holes were already bored in that plate, and I used those. Anyway, so it's not quite as much advantage as I would like. 2 1/4 to 10, I don't know what that would be. It's less than 5. Anyway, it may be hard to push. I don't know, I might be able to put a couple more inches on this this arm here, which would bring my ratio way up. But it's all in and solid and not really binding on anything. Good enough to do some measuring. So I'm going to take this master cylinder off of here and try try to clamp it up in the firewall wall, and we'll see what it looks like and how it's going to work with the floorboard and stuff. Well, I didn't like the fact the ratio wasn't what I wanted, so I re-drilled it. Now I got it at 2 inches, and of course my original is still 10. So now I got it at 5-to-1. So that'll be a little better, and I'm sure my ankles are not going to suffer that bad. But be quite surprised what just that much change in leverage will do. Yeah, so it's right at 2 inches. Good enough. Well, that wasn't quite what I expected. I guess I could have measured it, but it looked like it went in all right. Sitting on that ledge, but brake pedal is only 3 or 4 inches below the, not even that, maybe 2 inches below the steering column. It should be down there another 6 inches or so. Only thing I can do, I can cut like 2 inches of this bottom plate off. That'll lower this couple more inches. Well, I got 2 and 10, so that's 5. That's probably like the minimum that ratio that I should have, pedal ratio. So if I can lower it to, I can cut it right there at that bolt hole and extend the pedal 2 inches. And lower it 4 inches. Then it'll give me a 6-to-1 pedal ratio. Since it's not going to have power brakes, that's probably pretty good. But it's hanging a little forward of vertical, which is good. It'll bottom out before it ever gets that far. And I need to, I don't remember why it moved back. It was like 6 inches this way up here. Well, but I can tell, you know, that's from the floorboard to there is a foot at least. I need it like maybe 6 inches off the floor. I gotta lower this 6 inches, so there's 2 there, and I extend the pedal 2, that's 4. I still got another 2 inches. I could cut this angle iron here. You lower it some more that way. Yeah, let me set in there and see what it looks like on my foot. Well, if I say that the top of this transmission tunnel to floor. It's going to be actually a little lower than that. That's right about the top of my toe. For the brake. And I need to move it over a couple inches too. Well, no, I guess not. That's all right. So I'm going to measure that up in there and see how much I can take. Clamp a piece on there that's that long. See what that looks like. Well, the bottom of that's about 4 inches. So brake pedal will be right there, just about where you put your toe on it. Gas pedal will be about here somewhere. So that'll work. I'll cut that bracket, weld 2 more inches on here, and as far as how far it comes up, it's probably going to be in here somewhere. Right there is going to be to the floor, and it'll probably come up another 6 inches. I may have to alter that last 2 inches of that pedal angle. Point it towards the floor. Maybe I can do that without breaking everything loose. Yeah, so that won't be too bad. I think I'll, when I weld that 2 inches on there, I'm just going to tack it, and maybe tack a piece of flat metal there for a pad, and get it where I want it. I need to actually start making a floorboard here. To really tell where my feet are going to go. Anyway, that's what I got. It's kind of high. I'm about 4 inches off of this thing, this brace. Let's go out here in the firewall and look. Yeah. Center is about here somewhere. We lower it 2 inches. It'll be about there. Roughly. I don't want to be too bad. It is what it is. So the master cylinder will be a little lower than what I originally planned. Anyway, I got to put a floor or something in there. I've got I probably got enough tin and stuff to make well, I've got that piece over there. need to put some stuff across there and see what my my transmission hump's going to be like, even if I make it out of, you know, cardboard or whatever. Because once I start drilling holes, I don't want to drill a whole bunch of holes in this just to move it around. I'd like to cleanly mount it with two bolts there on the master cylinder and 2 on top. Since I'm going to be cutting off the bottom, I can't use those anymore. Anyway, deal for another day. At least the mechanics are good. You know, the master cylinder works. You can tell by all the oil. And time to call it quits. At least I got it mocked up, more or less hung. Like everything on this, every time you do something, you got to do something else to finalize it. Anyway, I'll upload this, guys. Like and subscribe.